Hey, financial freedom seekers, Simon Dixon here. Today is going to be a real quick one because it's Friday and I'll be going live tonight from the studio, or my office anyway, upstairs. And today I just want to discuss Bankman-Fried released a blog and Alex Mashinsky took the stand yesterday, day before. I covered loads of it on Twitter, so make sure you're following me on Twitter where I gave a play-by-play. But for those that want the quick video TLDR, they're both using the same defense. And it's the whole, it wasn't me, I didn't know scenario. So it looks like Alex Mashinsky wants to put the plethora of CFOs. One of them was arrested while he was still the CEO of the company, and others took the stand because he wants to use financial shenanigans and to manipulate balance sheets, and the same way that SBF wants to do on their blog to say, I didn't know. So what we've seen is that it is the using of the token values in order to print money, which is the exact reason why we got into Bitcoin in the first place, to counter money printing that was created as a result of the 2008 Lehman Brothers and financial crisis and subprime crisis, and then use an illiquid token to market. That is the same practice that Lehman Brothers were using, where they took illiquid assets and they, rather than using standard banking practices, if you're a regulated bank, and you typically would discount them by approximately the liquidity. So some of the assets in Lehman Brothers needed to be discounted by approximately 70%, which caused an insolvency situation in reality, but it wasn't reported as insolvency, it was reported as a liquidity issue. Because they couldn't sell those assets. And so rather than, this was the whole reforms that happened after the financial crisis, where regulated banks had to go through additional stress testing and VAS testing in order to ensure that they're marking those assets correctly to not create this situation again. Well, both SBF and Alex Mashinsky gave the indications of what they think their defense is going to be. They're saying that they never lied because they're not compulsive liars, narcissists, or sociopaths. In fact, everything they said was true. It was just some accidents with bad money management and the different strategies that they're deploying in order to get there. We got our indications this week. So when Alex Mashinsky took the stand, he was saying that he saw the US dollar financial reports, but didn't see the coin reports. What that means is that in order to run a regulated financial institution, if you're offering a custody service, for example, then you need to have, for example, if your clients have deposited 10,000 Bitcoin, then you need to have 10,000 Bitcoin. You can't, for example, say, on the time when clients deposited 10,000 Bitcoin, it was worth, let's say, $100 million. And today I have $100 million worth of coins. That's not a custody service. The coins have to match one for one. Now, obviously, in both the SBF FTX case and the Alex Mashinsky Celsius case is slightly different. In the SBF case, they had custody, which is you put your funds on an exchange, and then you could opt in to lending those by either lending for money in order to receive more coins because somebody else wanted to take a margin trade and short those coins. And therefore, it needed to be segregated between the coins in custody and the coins that were lent out, because these are different things. Now, in the case of Celsius and Alex Mashinsky, they were saying the coins are ours, so it's not custody. And then they were saying that they can invest it in a range of different products and promise you a yield. So what they did is they packaged it up as if it were a bank, i.e. if they had licenses to rehypothecate and invest people's money without disclosure, because they have regulatory oversight, FDIC insurance, access to bailout money, Ponzi schemes, inflation to pay for it, and everything we have in traditional banking. But this time, rather than disclose it, it was sold as an illegal security. Now, this week, yesterday as well, the SEC went after both Gemini and Genesis that were offering the same service, but this time saying, letting them know that you were offering illegal securities to retail investors. So I've been saying that for ages, but we categorically know that right now, that when you offer somebody yield by investing in a range of different investments, that's called a fund. And a fund that offers, the ability to short and long, which is what we saw in the Celsius case yesterday. So when Alex Mashinsky took the stand against KeyFi, they were both blaming each other, saying the other people were meant to be hedging. Therefore, we could never put together a profit and loss. Therefore, the person, Jason Stone, that stole the money, stole a bunch of money from Celsius. So we had scammers on the stand against other scammers. So one was, saying that, so therefore they had this profit and loss, and therefore he thought it was okay to just dip his hands in the cookie jar. So Alex Mashinsky decided to hand over approximately $2 billion, if you're marking it in dollars, of coins to this person. And obviously he went and decided that it was a good idea to go buy loads of NFTs and all sorts of shit. So Alex Mashinsky had to take the stand in order to defend against that. But the opportunity was there to try and prove Alex Mashinsky as a liar. So the lawyers for Jason Stone, another person that seems to have scammed our money, tried to get it where Alex Mashinsky would ask him questions like, did you use Cell token? And they asked the CFO as well at the time, and various other people. Obviously the CFO said, yes, the token was client funds were used in order to buy Cell token. And that was way back, even before the buy and burn utility. So Cell used to say they did a buy and burn. That was a new feature, which turned the Cell token into a security. And so then they had a double securities law issue. But prior to that, they were using about 4,500 Bitcoin in one case very early in 2020 in order to push up the price of Cell and manipulate the price of Cell token. Why? Because if there is a hole, or they're trying to make the company look bigger so that they can raise additional finance from equity investors, then they can say they have a big balance sheet by doing what Lehman Brothers did, taking an illiquid token, marking it to market, making it look like the company is bigger than it is, and therefore increasing the valuation and creating an illusion of if you don't have all the coins, you can then claim that it's not a solvency issue, and if people want to withdraw them, you blame it on being a liquidity issue. So we've seen the playbook. And SBF on his blog, he said, it wasn't me. We were completely solvent. Here's all the assets from my memory. And he's doubling down on the same thing, completely eliminating everything that we know. So here's what we know. That the token was used in order to cover holes. Holes were not there. And the illegal securities or illegal banking and illegal custody services were being offered. We know that because they were offering yield rather than it being a peer-to-peer institutional lending market, where, for example, it was represented as safer than a bank because we have full collateralized institutional loans, where we take your money and then we lend it to somebody else, they pay some yield, and then we pay it back to you. Instead, they invested in a range of different things, whether it be mining, Cell token, directional bets, unhedged bets, uncollateralized loans, private equity, a mining operation, a custody business, private equity investments in private companies, SAFT agreements, simple agreement for future tokens, essentially a hedge fund. But offering it to retail without even being approved, with no disclosures, no suitability testing, and no oversight accordingly. Now, there was a massive regulatory failure as well. Don't think that I don't blame regulators for this, because they have a mafia crony capitalism strategy as well. They're in it too. So they wait for the company to be big enough. They don't just say, they don't, come after them early. They wait for the company to be big enough so that they can do what they did with BlockFi, and that is enforce a fine. And so if they can get the fine big enough, then they can pay for their staff and their ivory towers in their big posh buildings as well at the regulators. So it's one big giant mess, but we got an indication of what the defense is going to be. I didn't do it. It wasn't me. Nothing was a lie because I didn't see the coin report balances. I didn't know that. I just saw the US dollar balances and believed that we were solvent. It's not going to fly. The examiner report in the case of Celsius comes on the 30th of January. But let's remember, this is the land of the free, America, where people can go from prison in Bahamas, fly over to Palo Alto, luxury houses, living with their parents and write blogs, making sure that they get some good old Chapter 11 protection. If you haven't watched the video that I created a couple of days ago on everything you need to know about Chapter 11 and the formula, please do watch that. And also just one final thing, the video I did yesterday got some really good comments. Now that we've had a little bit of Bitcoin being in the green in the last couple of days, trying to take away some of the negative moods that people are experiencing. Don't let your mood be determined by whether the price is green or red on a daily basis. You're violating all the rules. But go check out the final 2 tests of Bitcoin today. And tonight, I'm going to be going live at 6 p.m. GMT to cover absolutely everything that you need to know in a roller coaster week to make you a better investor from what you've learned from FTX, from Digital Currency Group, from Voyager, from Celsius, from Gemini, from Genesis, and we're running out of names in these Chapter 11 cases. Okay, so I'll see you tonight on the office upstairs. And always remember, you're alive at one of the most interesting and exciting times in financial history. Some are going to get hurt, others are going to do really well. Subscribe to this channel, like this video, help me get this message out to more people. And when you hit the subscribe button, hit the bell symbol and hit all, and YouTube will notify you each and every time we go live. The only reason I'm in a gym right now is I create these videos as a reward for you holding me accountable to work out each day so that I have to show up. A great practice you could probably do in your investing if you think about how you can adjust that to the challenge that I set yesterday. Make sure that you end up, not financial advice, but with more Bitcoin each month than you had the previous month, especially during these bear markets and accumulation phases. So I will see you in the next video. Peace.